This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
Begins on an August afternoon in Yucaipa, California, a town most people outside of San Bernardino County couldn't really pick off of a map. It's the kind of place where life moves just slow enough that a trip to the sporting goods store doesn't feel like an opening chapter of a nightmare. But for 7-month-old, Emmanuel Haro, that's exactly what it was. His mother, Rebecca Haro, called in the emergency. Her story was stark. She had been attacked in the parking lot outside of Big Five Sporting Goods, knocked out cold. When she came to, her baby boy, Emmanuel, was gone. She didn't see who took him. She couldn't describe a car, or a stranger's face, not even a silhouette. All she remembered, she said, was someone greeting her with a casual, "Hola," then nothing but white and darkness until she hit the ground. On paper, it sounds like an abduction, a terrifying one at that, a 7-month-old baby snatched in broad daylight in the middle of a busy strip mall. Kind of case that normally triggers a tidal wave of alerts, press conferences, and national headlines, but that didn't necessarily happen here. There was no Amber Alert. That wasn't because authorities didn't care. It was because the details just didn't add up. An Amber Alert is only issued when investigators have something concrete to broadcast, a suspect description, a vehicle, a direction of travel. In this case, they had none of it. A mother saying she blacked out, a baby gone without a trace, and a parking lot where nobody saw a thing. A combination immediately pulled this case into dangerous territory. It meant investigators had to ask, did an abduction even happen at all? Still, deputies moved quickly. Canine teams swept through the asphalt, tracing every inch for scent. Cadaver dogs, yes, cadaver dogs were deployed far sooner than anyone would ever want in a missing child case. That detail alone tells you investigators were already bracing for the worst. Helicopters scanned overhead, officers knocked on doors, surveillance cameras from nearby businesses were pulled, and yet Emmanuel was nowhere. Not a blanket, not a bottle, not a stroller left behind. It was as if he'd been erased. When police sat Rebecca down for questioning, they expected confusion. Victims in shock don't always remember every detail the same way. Trauma scrambles memory, but what they got weren't just hazy details. They got contradictions. Part of her story shifted depending on when she told them. The timeline wobbled, and when pressed, she broke. She stopped cooperating, and in the middle of the most crucial window of time to find her missing baby, she ended the interview and refused to take a polygraph, allegedly. To investigators, that wasn't the move of a desperate mother fighting to get her child back. It was the move of someone who didn't want to be cornered. That pivot changed the entire trajectory of the case. The spotlight turned inward. Rebecca's refusal to cooperate meant detectives couldn't lean on her version of events as reliable. So they pulled search warrants. The Haro family's home became ground zero for investigators. Cadaver dogs were brought in. Again, detectives walked out of the house carrying boxes filled with electronics, Xboxes, iPads, cell phones, surveillance, DVRs. Every screen, every cloud account, every message thread was now evidence. And then there was the father, Jake Haro. To the public, his name was new. To law enforcement, it wasn't. He had a record, a serious one. In 2018, there had been a child cruelty case. He and Rebecca both ended up pleading guilty to it in 2023. Yet they still have children. He was still on probation when Emmanuel disappeared. On top of that, Jake was facing weapons charges, like every good dad. When investigators seized his car, it wasn't just routine. They were telling the public, without saying outright, that the father's past and the present crisis couldn't be separated. For anyone who follows cases like this, the pattern is familiar and gut-wrenching. Stranger abductions make stranger headlines. But they're statistically rare. When a baby vanishes with no witness, no forced entry, no ransom note, detectives are forced to consider the darkest possibility that the danger came from inside the family itself. And that's where the public's trust began to fracture. Because normalcy in cases of missing children, you see, parents get front and center attention. They cry into cameras, beg for their children's return, plead with the public for help. And when real, it's messy. It's raw, it's human. With the Haros, well, it feels a little different. You got silence, you got legal representation, you see stonewalling, and the public already skeptical after hearing about Jake's prior conviction started to connect the dots in their own minds. And then there was them. They decided to grant an interview. Go on camera, talk about exactly what happened. And we got that. We're going to let you take a look at that and let you be the judge.
As I got up, I couldn't find my son. I got him out of the car seat, and I laid him down and so I could get his diapers ready. And somebody said, "Hola," and that's all I remember. And I saw white. And hearing sound, I fell on the floor, and I said, as I got up, I couldn't find my son. I checked around my truck, and I ran into Big Five, and I asked the lady if she saw a baby or someone with a baby. She said no. It was a happy boy. He smiled.
Whoever took our son, please give him back.
The search for this 7-month-old baby boy continues. Police and the family desperate to find out where he is.
Yeah, how'd that read to you, Stacy?
For a second, I kept looking at my screen going, is this the Madeline Soto case that we're talking about? What case are we talking about, Tony? I'm not sure. Yeah. Wow, the similarities here are just stark.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, and I have no problem admitting, and I say this a lot, that I never had children. I dove into my radio career. I did that. I saw a lot of discrimination against women in the field, that if they had a child, they didn't get the morning show job because the kid would always come first. So I always got jobs because I didn't have kids. I guess where I'm going with this is, if you don't want children, don't have them. Does it seem easy? I mean, if you don't want your kids, who forced you to have them?
It's always the people that don't want the children that have the most.
I know. I never wanted them. I had cats for a reason. I relate better to animals. I knew this about myself, so I never had kids because I didn't like them.
I really, when you look at this woman, I mean, like, everybody deals with grief differently. She's not been charged with anything as of yet. They're certainly looking at them very closely. But yeah, something smells.
Why wouldn't she take a polygraph test? I understand that sometimes they can send back some false positives, things like that. But my thought is, if you are innocent of something and there is a way to show that you're innocent, like releasing certain files, do it.
Well, I think fairly confidently say, judging from that performance, she ain't going to pass the polygraph test. Now, does that mean she's guilty, or I don't know. There's a reason polygraphs are not admissible in court either. But if this just seems like a common sense one here. But if you look at the history, you look at the boyfriend or the husband or whatever, the father, whatever he is, and his history, and he's still on probation for things involving abuse of children.
It's a problem.
And why you have children? You're on probation for it, and there are children in your custody. You're literally holding a child while on probation for hurting a child.
Literally. This is how it works. It's like interviewing someone for, like, they're on probation for drunk driving while they're going down the road, pouring down a bottle of vodka. while interviewing for a job to be a bus driver.
Yeah, it's okay. There was talk of sightings in Kern County, hours north. Maybe Emmanuel had been taken. Maybe he'd been seen alive, but investigators never confirmed it. It was logged, checked, and so far dismissed as unverified. Another dead end. Meanwhile, the description of Emmanuel kept circulating. 7 months old, 21 pounds, 24 inches tall, brown hair, brown eyes, a little black Nike onesie, crossed eyes. It wasn't just a missing child description. It became a haunting reminder of what was lost in all the noise. While his parents dodged questions and his father's criminal record resurfaced in headlines, Emmanuel himself was missing. And that's the part that never changes in these stories. The child is the one who vanishes. The adults are the ones who create the fog so often. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department hasn't ruled out foul play. They can't, not with the weight of evidence they've already collected. The seized electronics are being combed through. The vehicle is being forensically analyzed. Surveillance footage is being reviewed frame by frame. Investigators are piecing together a puzzle where the most important piece, the baby is gone, is gone. When you step back and look at the Haro case, one detail that can't be ignored is Jake's past. 2018, years before Emmanuel was even born, Jake and Rebecca were criminally charged in connection to child cruelty. By 2023, both had pled guilty. Court records show probation conditions and a shadow that followed them right into 2025. Yeah, it's a history that doesn't just sit quietly in a file. It colors everything. For investigators, a prior conviction wasn't just background noise. It was the flashing sign that said, pay attention. Because when the child goes missing and one or both parents have documented history of harming children, law enforcement has no choice but to dig deeper. The public often wonders why investigators appear to zero in on families so quickly in these cases. It can feel harsh, even unfair. And grieving parents are suddenly treated like suspects. But when you've already acted like suspects, have been suspects, and have been convicted before, well, that kind of makes you a suspect. But it's not about appearances. It's about probability. Time and again, data shows that when children are harmed or vanish, the answers oftentimes most lie at home. It's not cynicism, it's pattern recognition. Then there's the way Rebecca's own behavior. Compounding suspicion. Detectives aren't naive. They know trauma scrambles memory. They know victims of attacks can mix up details, lose time, misremember sequences, but inconsistencies are different from fog. Inconsistencies are when one detail is one way on Monday and another way on Tuesday. That's when a story doesn't just shift under pressure, it collapses under its own weight. That's what investigators reported seeing from Rebecca. And when confronted, she shut the door, stopped talking, refused the polygraph. It was a move that turned what could have been seen as a mother's desperate account into something prosecutors would later be looking at probably as a credibility issue at some point. So what is going to happen? Jake has kept mostly silent. His attorney, Vincent Hughes, made a public statement condemning threats against the family and insisting on their cooperation. But the contrast was jarring. Instead of two parents flooding the airwaves, the pleas for help, the spotlight was filed by a lawyer explaining why the family wasn't speaking to the public. It felt like the child's voice, the urgency to find Emmanuel, was getting drowned out by the legal maneuvering here. Behind-the-scenes investigators keep pulling strings. Warrants are out. The family's home is being scrubbed, and the digital data is being gone over. Jake's vehicle, another key piece in this. Investigators didn't haul it away on a whim. Cars tell stories, especially with modern forensic tools. Carpet fibers, soil samples, hairs, fluids. It can all survive years, and so can vehicle data on where you were. That's all going to be discovered in the coming days. I think the best thing about this case, if there's any good thing to come of it, these two don't seem too bright. So at the end of the day, this is going to be very sloppy if they had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And honestly, it feels like that will tell us what happened. If they're not that bright, obviously these charges they've already been brought up on, I'm going to say that's my conclusion. You're not very bright if that's what you've done and you're on probation for it. And just the I don't know. I just don't buy the sobbing. There was no tears there.
Again,
It's really shitty acting, if you ask me. But again, they have not been charged with anything as of this moment, so they are innocent. This is just conjecture and opinion, but everybody can make their own judgment calls. But
well, and think about this. There's when there's crimes with infants, like stealing infants, the probability of that being a stranger is really small.
yeah,
I think I read somewhere that if an infant is abducted, stolen, whatever you'd like to say, it is most likely a family member. It doesn't necessarily mean it's mom and dad. It could just be somebody who is part of that family unit.
mm-hmm.
But typically, that's who it is. It's not a stranger. A lot of times when you hear about stranger abductions, maybe carjackings, and there happens to be an infant in the back seat, they return the infant and keep the car. Like, here, take the damn kid.
Yeah,
I didn't want that. So it just feels really improbable. Doesn't mean that they're guilty at this point, but there's so many inconsistencies, and the past of this man, there's a behavioral precedent here.
Yeah.
If he were just somebody who vandalized property or he shoplifted at Walmart, you can kind of look past that and go, well, he's got some issues. But this is specifically about children that have passed.
Both.
Point two.
Yeah.
Well, yes, exactly. Both. I'm focusing on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, they both, it reeks of, we don't have respect for living creatures.
But we have so many of them around us, and the government even said that we're not good at it, but they gave them all back. They gave us another chance. This is where the whole see something, say something comes into place, but that really doesn't work anymore.
No.
Because you get this, and they still have there's still children in their custody.
That's the astounding
Right now, there are children in their custody.
Literally, we just saw them. Like, here's the kid I'm holding right now that could be next. They're innocent until proven guilty, but they have shown a tendency to not respect a child's life here.
So when this turns out to be a massive murder-suicide and everybody's dead, and like, well, we didn't see anything coming. Wonder what? Should we have gotten the kids early? Should we get them out of that situation? Gee, you think? Maybe? Because familial side is a thing, especially when monsters get put into corners. Now, I don't know that these are monsters. This is all conjecture. If they were. I'm not saying they're going to go kill their kids. But I'm saying it might be a precaution you'd like to avoid have happen. You might want to just kind of look at that a little tighter and go, just for the time being, maybe we should keep a tight eye on this. Because when you put people in a corner and they feel they got nothing to lose, and they already have been brought up on charges involving harming children, it's not a far cry to think that they might do that again.
Well, and again, what if this was a stranger who did it? Then you've got that background that puts you in the limelight, that maybe it was you. And what if they are completely innocent? I mean, so they've set themselves up based on their past.
Yeah.
Really shitty situation.
There's nothing wrong with judging the book by its contents. And the book so far here has the contents. And it hasn't been a good book so far.
No.
So it's not surprising that the next chapter forward might have some of the same stuff in it.
Well, their narrative has just absolutely crumbled. And that's the part that disturbs me. If everything lined up, that, there were witnesses that saw somebody, whack her over the head, and the car got away and the baby's gone. But that's not how this story is unfolding at all.
There's nobody in this busy parking lot. I don't know.
Right.
None of it makes sense. And it's a very rough story. We're going to find, probably even by the time you're seeing this, there might be far more out. This feels a lot like the Soto case, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up that way. But in this case, I hope that if both are knowledgeable on this, that both have some reckoning here. I still do not understand how Jennifer Soto is not in prison, but
they're waiting on something. I really would love to have some resolution to that case. What else is there that we need to find out? I want to know what her role was.
Well, I think she's, other than being an idiot, I don't know. I mean, she clearly was complicit. I don't know. I wonder if there is still something going on there. Obviously, he's gone away now. He's in prison for the rest of his life. He's admitted guilt. So I was wondering if they were going to pounce in on her because now she's of no value to the state.
Correct.
If she was sitting there as a state's witness, that she was going to, but maybe she is of value to the state. She may still be on the other side. I don't know.
Well, if this was a sex ring of some sort.
For other people. I don't know. I would think maybe by this point she's run out of leads, but she may have some sort of an immunity deal as well. It's hard to know.
It's very odd that we haven't heard much.
This is a very bizarre one. We'll keep following it. I know it's been going on for a handful of days now. And yeah, it's just... this isn't going to end well, I don't think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Wherever you are on YouTube, please leave them there. Press subscribe wherever you're listening or watching this. Search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms so you don't miss any of the coverage in this and the many cases that we're bringing to you right here. Until next time, for all of us, I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.